Welcome to the Hidden Corners, where truth and terror collide. Discover a realm where the lines between the living and the supernatural blur, as you embark on a journey to the paranormal and visit the mysterious hidden corners of your mind. From haunted houses to cryptic dreams, psychic abilities to ancient legends, the hidden corners unlock the secrets that lie hidden within the shadows of our consciousness. Get ready to confront the unexplainable and uncover the truth that lies within the hidden corners. This is your host, Ginger Winters, and featuring King's Tall Tales by Justin King, Around the Campfire with CLAY STEELE, and several guest appearances. Send your stories in to thehiddencorners.story@gmail.com if you'd like your story to be read on The Hidden Corners.
Hello? Hey, Jim. Jim, what's wrong? Are you kidding me? What are you gonna do? Man, you can't sell that place. You love that place. I'm not sure what to tell you. I get it. I'll call you tonight. I want to hear the details. All right, we'll see you later.
What was that about?
That was Jim. Do you remember back in the, you won't remember, but back in the 05, he and I were turkey hunting a lot together at his farm. Anyway, this is that story I've never told you.
You've never told me?
I've never told you. And this is the craziest thing. I've kind of pushed it back in my mind. I haven't, only him and I know about this. So I got there the night before. I pulled the camper over there, I set up. He had to work that night. And so I was there and I set up the camper and I was sitting on the porch of his little feed shed. You know, he's got a porch out there and a shower.
Yeah.
So I was sitting out there reading a book and this big thunderstorm rolls up. Now, this story's gonna take a minute, so just hang with me until it'll kind of all come together at the end. So the storm rolls up and it was just perfect for me. It was a springtime thunderstorm. I had a good book. I was sitting there on the porch, just reading and listening to the rain on the tin roof. And I started hearing these weird noises from the woods across the way. We probably had about an hour of daylight left. So the rain stopped. I didn't hear the noises. The noises were kind of like, I don't know, it sounded like apes. But there aren't any apes in West Tennessee, so I just thought it was an animal I'd never heard. And I'll be the first to say I don't know every animal sound in the woods. So it stopped raining. I needed to scout out a place where I was gonna hunt the next day, at least find it so I could get there in the dark the next morning. So I went up in the woods. I found a good spot, actually close to a feeder. It's up on the top of this finger ridge. So I found it, kind of memorized how to get there, and I walked my way out. And on the way out, I could hear all this kind of movement around me. And my first thought was that it was some cows that had got loose. There was another guy down the road that Jim had told me he raised mules. He raised mules and sold them to coon hunters and farmers and people who want mules. So I figured maybe some kind of livestock got out. And I came back to the place, Jim had showed up. And I was telling him about all this stuff, and he was like, I don't know. I have no idea. Never heard of this guy's mules getting out. Nobody's cows ever get out and get on our land, so I don't know. Anyway, we grilled some steaks. We went to bed. We got up the next morning. I woke up. He was already cooking breakfast. And it was probably in 2 hours before daylight. We were up at like 4 in the morning. Real excited about opening day of turkey season. Everything was just perfect. We were laughing, having a big time. So finally we get done with breakfast. We put all our gear on, get our shotguns loaded up. We're ready to go for at least a good half day's hunt. So we start walking this tree line, and he's gonna walk with me until I hit that ridge that I need to go up. Then he's gonna go further on down into some lower flat ground, some bottoms, and the hatchy bottoms. I was gonna hunt the ridges. And we came up in this little cut-in in the woods, the edge of the field. In the woods, it was all hardwood timber. And we stopped and we were talking, and he was telling me some things of, you know, what was beyond that. I had never really walked around his farm much. And we hear this, something running in the woods toward us. I'm not going to explain the directions and everything because that would be boring, but just know that something was running to us, and we thought it was a deer. So we stopped and we were real quiet. It was getting closer. We could hear it running in the leaves. No idea what it is. And out of nowhere, in the barely discernible light that we could see the ground. We weren't using flashlights. There was a moon out that morning. These two coyotes bust out of the woods and dart right between us. He and I are standing 10 feet apart. And we just look at each other and we're like, what the hell? Coyotes, I've seen coyotes before. I've never been that close to one. I would say they won't get within 100 yards of a person. They always know where you're. They're one of the smartest animals in the woods. They always know where you are. We're just laughing about these coyotes when we hear more noise coming toward us, but whatever this thing was, it was much bigger. We could hear limbs snapping, cracking and echoing off into the woods through the still night. And it's getting closer and closer and closer. We have not said a word. And I'm looking at him going, what the hell is that? He's like, I don't know what that is. I saw him kind of bring a shotgun up to the ready, and then he raised it to his shoulder. Well, I did the same thing. So there we both are standing there. Whatever this thing is, if it's dangerous, we're going to shoot it when it comes out of the woods. And we're sitting there ready to go to battle. I mean, we already knew something. I was thinking it was a big pig. It was a big pig and we were going to have to shoot it. This thing runs right up to the edge of the woods and it stops and everything goes silent. It's like it knew we were there. And it stopped for maybe a few seconds. And then it started raising hell. It was roaring and pacing back and forth, and we could see in the moonlight limbs at the edge of those woods were shaking, and leaves, the brand new leaves that were coming out on the trees, you know, they're that fluorescent green, they stood out. I could see them waving and moving. And we each had 3 shots each. We talked about this afterwards. We had 3 shots each, and we didn't want to waste a shot unless we knew we were going to hit something. So neither one of us just randomly fired in the woods, but I'm telling you, I wanted to try to scare whatever it was off. But we held tight. This thing was raising hell, pacing back and forth and roaring, and it was almost like I could tell the elevation from where its voice was coming. This thing seemed like it was 10 feet tall. And just like it had started, it stopped, but we could still hear it moving around in there. And it was pacing and huffing, but it had stopped roaring. And then it walked from my left to my right, straight up the ridge where I was gonna hunt, and it was gone. And I remember looking over at Jim. I still had my shotgun to my shoulder. It's like I had tuned out of everything. And the one thing I remember him saying is lower your weapon, because I was safety off, gun at the shoulder, and I was turning it towards him because I just couldn't take it away from my shoulder. He said, lower your weapon. And then the discussion ensued. What the hell was that? All of those discussions two guys would have if something like that happened to them. We never could figure out what it was. We stood there talking about it probably for an hour. We were actually afraid to move. We didn't know if that thing was up there waiting on us. We didn't. So toward the end of the conversation, an hour later, we decided, sounded like it moved off. It was probably a pig, although we had never heard a pig that tall. And you won't believe this, but we wound up going ahead and hunting that day. I walked up that finger ridge and I set up. He had to go to work at noon. And I remember him, we didn't use texting. This was like 2004 or 5. I didn't even know how to text. So he called me on my little flip phone and he said, I got to go to work. Farm's yours. He left. I was there all alone. And I had been thinking about that all morning. Never heard a turkey, never saw a turkey. Then I got up and moved and I started just walking around his farm. I know that sounds insane, but that's exactly what I did. And I finally saw some turkeys in a field, and I actually was able to get down in a ditch in the trees, move up on them, and I actually killed a turkey that day. It's that turkey that's on my wall.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you remember how excited I was that day? Well, I never told you this story. Well, that was him on the phone. He has not seen or heard anything like this since then, but this morning, here we are, almost, this is the 1st of July. He's cutting grass for hay on his farm, and he hears the same thing, and he's telling me on the phone, I'm never going back in those woods again. I got 500 acres here, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. He has it just to hunt, and he's telling me he's never going back in the woods again, so I'm gonna have to call him tonight, see what's going on. Do you think I'm crazy?
No, but did y'all never get a good look at it?
Never saw it. Never saw
Not
it.
even shadows, no.
No shadows. It was still dark enough that inside the tree line it was pitch black, and whatever this thing was probably 10 or 15 feet back in there. We just never saw it. But there was something there because we saw all these limbs and trees. I'm talking about 6-inch round trees. 20 or 30 feet tall, shaking and rocking out into the field and branches breaking. It was insane.
What else could do that?
I don't know. I don't want to say the word. He doesn't want to say the word. But I think we both think it was a Bigfoot, a Hatchie Bottoms Delta Bigfoot. That's what we think it was. So, I don't know. I got to call him back tonight and see what's up, but I'm afraid for him.
Well, obviously.